As the sun dipped down below the horizon, the village of Uli was painted in hues of gold and amber. Shadows grew long, whispering secrets across the land. Beneath the village's surface, hidden truths lay buried like ancient roots, waiting for the night to unearth them. Little did the villagers know that one of their own was not who he seemed, and that soon fate would put their values and their hearts to the ultimate test. In the grand halls of the palace, Prince Emeka paced, a heavy weight pressing upon his chest. All around him were whispers, words that spoke of suitors eager to be his bride. Yet, beneath their flattery, he sensed the hollow echo of ambition and desire for power. He yearned for a woman who would love him for the man he was, not the crown upon his head. But how could he ever find such a heart in a world blinded by gold? Alone in the quiet of his chambers, Emeka's gaze fell upon his royal garments, the symbols of his power and privilege. If he wanted a love that saw beyond his title, he would need to be someone else, a man of simplicity, stripped of wealth and status. With a heart both determined and fearful, he vowed to live among his people as a commoner, forsaking the throne to find the woman who would see past the mask he wore every day. Clad in plain clothes, with a humble sack slung over his shoulder, Prince Emeka left the palace walls, feeling the weight of his decision. In that moment, he was no longer a prince, but a man called Chima, a stranger even to himself. As he walked away from the grandeur and splendor of his lineage, he wondered if he would ever find the love he so desperately sought. He blended in so well. None of the villagers recognized him as the prince. They came to him and treated him as their equal, not as royalty. Emeka appreciated this, and it encouraged him to continue his search for his bride. Across the village, Adaeze's hands trembled as she scrubbed the dusty floor off her stepmother's hut, her fingers raw from the hard labor. Nkem, her stepmother, hovered above her like a storm cloud, eyes filled with contempt. Adaeze had known cruelty, but she had held to her faith, her spirit a quiet flame that even Nkem's harsh words could not extinguish. If only there were someone who could see the purity of her heart beneath the hardship. In the bustling market of Uli, Chima's gaze fell upon a sight that stopped him in his tracks. A young woman with a serene kindness in her eyes was gently aiding an elderly villager, lifting baskets and murmuring words of encouragement. He also saw her giving bread to the hungry. She even offered him bread. As he watched her, his heart stirred. Here was someone who cared without expecting anything in return. But did her compassion run as deep as her beauty? Only time would tell. Back at her hut, Kim's keen ears caught wind of a rumor that spread like wildfire. It was said that the prince himself was searching for a bride. A wicked grin crept across her face, and her mind spun with dark plans. If anyone was to marry royalty, it would be her own blood daughter, and she would do whatever it took to ensure Adaeze was kept from the prince's notice. She told her daughter about this plan, letting her daughter know her evil plan that she has to stop Adaeze from marrying the prince. As Adaeze struggled with an armful of firewood, Chima stepped forward, extending a hand. "Let me help you," he said, a quiet sincerity in his voice. She hesitated, unused to kindness, but his steady presence eased her worries. Together they walked through the forest, exchanging simple words, their laughter ringing in the trees. Though she didn't know it, Chima was testing her, seeing if her heart was truly as pure as he had hoped. In the center of the village, Nkem's voice cut through the morning air like a blade. She pointed an accusing finger at Adaeze, her eyes gleaming with false conviction. "This girl is a thief!" she cried, riling up the villagers around her. Adaeze's cheeks burned with shame as whispers of judgment filled the square. Her heart ached, yet she stood tall, her faith unshaken despite the lies thrown at her. That evening, as the stars were starting to flicker above, Adaeze knelt in the quiet of the woods, her hands clasped in prayer. She spoke in whispers, asking for strength, patience, for a chance at life full of freedom from cruelty. Hidden behind a tree, Chima watched her, captivated. This was not just a woman with a kind heart. She was a soul steeped in faith, whose words reached the heavens. In that moment, he felt a stirring, a feeling that he had not known before. From the shadows, Chima watched the scene unfold, his heart heavy with anger. He approached the village elders, presenting evidence to clear Adeze's name, carefully hiding his true identity. Through his words and actions, he ensured her honor was restored, yet no one knew the stranger who had come to her aid. In the wake of the accusations, many distanced themselves from Adaeze, yet Chima remained at her side. Together they shared quiet moments, simple meals, and laughter that seemed to chase away her sorrow. As their bond deepened, Adaeze found herself drawn to his warmth, never suspecting that the man she knew as Chima hid a royal secret. Desperation brewed in Gim's heart, fueling a final, twisted plot. She arranged for Adaeze to marry an elderly, wealthy man, hoping to rid herself of the girl for good. Adaeze's pleas fell on deaf ears as Nkem sealed the agreement. Adaeze felt her dreams crumble, unaware that Chima had heard everything and was planning a way to save her. With a heart torn between his oath of secrecy and his love for Adaeze, Emeka knew he had no choice. He could no longer watch from the shadows while the woman he loved was forced into misery. Emeka's resolve strengthened. He would reveal himself as the prince, even if it meant breaking his disguise. Just as the marriage ceremony was to begin, the crowd gasped as Emeka appeared, dressed in the finery of his royal robes. All eyes turned, shock rippling through the villagers as they realized Chima was, in truth, their prince. The wealthy suitor stood frozen as Emeka's commanding voice echoed through the square. "Adaeze will not be given away like a piece of gold, for she has a heart that cannot be bought." The village erupted in cheers as the truth of Emeka's love for Adaeze became clear. Many had mocked her, yet now they marveled at how her grace and her humility was shining. She was the woman who had captured the prince's heart, not with beauty or wealth, but with the purity of her spirit. As the truth came to light, the villagers turned their eyes to Nkem. Her lies, her cruelty, her schemes, all were revealed. With heads shaking and voices raised in disapproval, they cast her out, leaving her to wander alone, the bitter fruits of her own making. Under the bright sky of Uli, Emeka and Adaeze exchanged their vows, their love a beacon for all who witnessed it. The village rejoiced, dancing and singing as they celebrated the union of a prince who sought truth and a woman whose faith and purity led him home. Their story would be told for generations, a tale of love that conquered all.